Good morning. My name is Valerie Hoyos, and today I will be accompanied by my colleagues Camilla Jimenez, Christopher Morris, Yuri Gelly, and Annika Knudsen. And today our discussion is the influence of Burmese pythons on the Everglades. The python problem. So originally Burmese pythons are from Southeast Asia, but they were bought by Floridians as exotic pets. And when they came to Florida, they grew too wide and big for them to keep in a household. So they were released into the wild, and now they are roaming rampant in the Everglades ecosystem. To what extent do Burmese pythons negatively impact the Everglades ecosystem? Well, our claim and solution is that in order to remove the harm to native species, biodiversity, and reduce economic impacts, methods to humanely exterminate Burmese pythons must be implemented. Camilla?
Thank you, Lonnie. Populations of predator and prey evolve together over time and live in balance. That is why Burmese pythons don't cause a 90% decline in their habitat of Southeast Asia, as according to Michael Sawyer from UC Berkeley. What this means is that by being invasive towards the Everglades ecosystem, Burmese pythons are endangering other animals, as Valerie already stated. But what it actually means for the mechanism is that other species within the Everglades don't know that these pythons are invasive. So they don't take them as predators or prey. They just think they're another animal running around, whether actually they're predators and they want to eat other animals, thus reducing biodiversity. Now, Burmese pythons have a unique jaw mechanism. As you can see in the visual, their jaw unhinges and their teeth pull backward, pointing towards the prey. They also don't have to breathe while digesting. This means that Burmese pythons can eat and eat and eat as many animals as they want, thus reducing the biodiversity within the Everglades because they're ingesting so much of these species, such as marsh rabbits, raccoons, foxes, just to name some. Chris?
Thanks, Camilla. Increase in python population. Burmese pythons have been around in the Everglades for approximately 20 years, and in those 20 years, they have caused many environmental and economic issues to the Everglades. As you can see in this graph posted by mpg.org, the Burmese python was introduced in 2002, and they had a drastic increase from 2002 to 2009. And in 2009 and 2010, they had a slight decrease in population. Even though they had a slight decrease in population, there was still a drastic issue to the Everglades ecosystem. Effects on other species. Many other endangered species are found in Florida and other states and territories that would be threatened by large constrictor snakes. Reducing or eliminating this threat will support the valiant efforts completed so far to recover these species. This quote from the article, Impacts of the Python Invasion, and it is stating that even though that the removal of the invasive species such as the Burmese python will help out directly impacted species and second and third hand impacted species. Burmese pythons have wiped out approximately 99% of raccoon population, 98% of opossum population, and 87% of bobcat population. They can eat animals way bigger than them, and that's another reason they are so invasive to the ecosystem. Yuri?
Thank you, Chris. It's also important to realize that a single successful predation on an endangered species continues to reflect a net loss. This can be seen from this visual demonstration of statistical research, where at the start, a single devoured wood stork, which is an endangered species found as prey of Burmese pythons, costs up to $25,000 in recuperation efforts. But after 1 month, that value for the single devoured wood stork rises to $500,000. And by 1 year, that value reaches $6 million in recuperation efforts. These massive anti-extinction costs, as mentioned previously, compel organizations into funding research, attempting solutions, and informing the public about the Burmese python problem. As such, agencies such as the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, South Florida Water Management District, National Park Service, and several other organizations and governments work together to fight against the python issue. One of the products of these attempts is the Python Challenge, which is designed to hunt down pythons. This challenge and several other attempts to control the python population all require funding. As such, several organizations and governments work together to fund thousands of dollars annually, totaling over $1 million per year in funds to combat the python issue. Valerie?
Thank you, Yuri. It is important that we recognize that Burmese pythons aren't the only threat to the Everglades system. Actually, water quality and quantity are the two most significant threats to its ecosystem. As for water quantity, climate change such as hurricanes and seasonal droughts have caused species to be deprived from essential hydration needed. As for water quality, mercury contamination, sulfate, and increased salinity levels have left excessive water pollution in the Everglades. Senior ecologist Steve Davis states, "Notice how turbid and brown the water is. Just last year, this area smelled like death." This is a major issue because the Everglades provides over 1/3 of drinking water for Florida residents. So it does not only affect animal species within the Everglades, but it also affects daily Florida residents in Florida. But at the same time, water does not affect animal species as much as Burmese pythons do. So in order to save the Everglades ecosystem from depredation of native animal species, lethal actions towards Burmese pythons must be taken, such as hunting and killing them. Annika?
Thank you, Valerie. The IUCN Red List provides us with the knowledge that Burmese pythons are on the verge of being endangered. And with efforts to remove them from non-native ecosystems, they are progressively getting closer to endangerment. The endangerment and/or extinction of the Burmese python could set a chain reaction in the Southeast Asia ecosystems where they originate. The Endangered Species Coalition states, each species that is lost triggers the loss of other species within its ecosystem. The loss of another species could cause a domino effect, and this could become a global issue since Burmese pythons have taken residence in a plethora of locations and ecosystems in which they do not belong, primarily the Florida Everglades. As stated previously, a more lethal method of removal is what is seemingly the best option. But there is another solution: capture and release. As you can see in this image, traps have previously been implemented as the primary removal method. Andrew Gormley on the effects of wildlife capture states, in almost any live trap application, a major concern is the capture and welfare of non-target animals. Even through capture and release attempts, species and animals are at risk. Potentially further endangering native species of the Florida ecosystem is a large reason why trapping is not a viable removal method for Burmese pythons. While capturing and releasing is a more python-friendly option, we as a group have concluded that a more lethal method of removal is what is necessary to truly eliminate this issue. The Florida Wildlife Conservation Commission, or FWC, states, the FWC wants the public to help remove invasive species, such as the Burmese python, and has removed obstacles to killing pythons year-round. What is necessary is hunters trekking into the Everglades to manually exterminate them. Removal of the Burmese python is what is truly necessary to solve the animal depredation problem and loss of endangered and extinct species in the Everglades. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
All right, we'll have a question for each of you. Obviously, we'll start with you since you're still here. Describe how the content of your presentation changed as a result of group discussions.
Originally, our group had been focused on wildfires in California and around the globe. But doing individual research, we discovered that there was not sufficient research to support our research question. And so then we discussed and decided we wanted to do a more local issue and landed on the Burmese pythons within the Florida Everglades. Thank you.
Thanks. Next up. right, Camilla, in the future, what change would you make to your group norms, and how would you expect that to improve your team presentation?
The change that I would make to my group norms is to be harsher on due dates that we set as a group, because many times other group members would procrastinate, and that would set us back in our quality and the quality of our work. So that would basically make our work way better, because we would have had more time to be able to work and go more in depth in our research.
All right, thank you. Chris, reflecting on the work of your colleagues, which one had the greatest impact on your overall understanding of the problem that you guys talked about?
Overall, I would say Annika had the greatest impact because she provided how the Burmese python was almost endangering itself. It was almost extinct. So we really had to go deeper and think that to know that if killing them was the best possible solution, or if maybe other solutions were possible. But she proved that this was the best solution.
All right, thank you. All right, Yuri. In what ways did you improve your ability to work as a group as a result of this project?
So we had several, in fact, conflicts about decisions about both the context and the evidences that we had in our presentation. But through those issues, I feel like not only me, but our entire group improved in our just general communication skills and our ability to conversate, to compromise, and most importantly, to stay goal-oriented and discuss while not straying away from the objective at hand.
All right, thank you. Val, now that your project is over, it's all done, what, if anything, do you consider a gap in your team's research that if you had included it, it would have made everything to be just that much better?
Yeah, there was most definitely a gap in Chris's research on how he found out that there are no laws that prevent people from buying Burmese pythons as exotic pets. And if we would have looked into that more and possibly used that as one of the potential solutions in our project, that would have made me more reassured that we have addressed every single possible solution that could have been best for this situation.
All right, thank you.